I'm Ed Haertel. I've been teaching in the School of Education for a little over 30 years, and I've also been working with the California Department of Education on the state's accountability system. And so you've asked me to think about this big question of whether we can create valid and reliable measures of the greatly expanded range of learning outcomes that is now being envisioned. And I take that to mean primarily the college and career readiness indicators, which are a special kind of a challenge. This really is an interesting question. The first question, the prior question, would be whether we can even define what these new learning outcomes really are. College and career readiness is a convenient rhetorical label. It's a phrase that packages a lot of things together, and things like that seem to have appeal in the policy world. Other examples would be STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Nobody is a professor of STEM. We sort of put these things together because it sounds good, and then we go off and we're running. 21st century skills, going back to an earlier era, higher order thinking skills, all kinds of other examples could be found. But staying with the college and career readiness example, the college part is in pretty good shape, actually. College readiness we can measure in pretty much the way that we're measuring academic achievement now. There's obviously concern there with construct underrepresentation. More goes into success in college than just doing well on academic tests or in academic coursework. There also are things like time management. The usual concern with construct underrepresentation in policy contexts is that it creates incentives that we don't want. For example, an incentive to narrow the curriculum if we only test certain things, or if we test them in certain ways, then the kinds of things we're not testing tend to get left out. But I don't think that skills like time management are going to be any worse taught if we start using our existing tests for this new college readiness purpose along with existing purposes. That seems fairly benign. The career readiness piece is a different kind of a challenge. In general, as we move up to higher levels, more advanced levels in the academic system, the diversity of students' experiences and investments in their educations becomes more diverse, more heterogeneous. So it's easy at the elementary school level because everyone's working on basic skills. We're already running into trouble when we get to the high school level with the different mathematics and science courses that students take, which create complexities in even the current accountability system. And of course, looking out beyond K-12 education to higher education and then on into the world of work, we have an even greater diversity. That diversity is a good thing. In school, we have a sort of artificial set of rules where everyone has to succeed by the same, according to the same standards. Out in the real world, we get to choose our battles and choose the arenas in which we'll excel. But it does create a problem. The answer is to allow for that diversity in the assessments that we use, to create a package or an envelope for a career readiness indicator that allows for people to demonstrate career readiness in a variety of different ways. When we do that, we're in effect creating, as a matter of policy, we're creating an equivalence between different possible career paths or different possible demonstrations of career readiness that map to the same point on the scale. So there's a need for care in doing that, and there's a risk of paradoxical incentives. If we do it carelessly so that some career paths look a lot easier than others, then we may have students choosing those paths just because they look easy and making consequential educational and life decisions for the wrong reasons. We might already see that with students choosing which course to take to satisfy one of the A through G requirements according to what course seems easiest rather than what might be of genuine interest. But compared to choosing a career, that's pretty harmless. I think the answer is going to be to focus on the use of these measures at the school level, not the individual student level. We'll still have those incentives if we're packaging things up and rolling them up to the school level, but they'll be a lot less serious because they're more indirect. Also, the school level measurement will make it easier because there's less concern with reliability. The quantifications for individual students might be quite lumpy, maybe just a binary yes-no indicator. It doesn't give much information, but if we aggregate that up to the school level, we'll get something that's more useful. Where the data will come from, I don't know. I think for the time being, the most common question where we ask in looking at different possibilities is, can we get it from CalPADS, California Longitudinal Pupil Achievement Data System. But in the future, we're just going to need to reach outside of that. Hopefully draw on different kinds of certifications and credentials and other measurements that are already in place that different students might be taking advantage of. If we can find a way to define which of those represent success, then I think we'll get there. It's not a new problem. Years ago in Kentucky, the legislation called for measurement of successful transition to adult life. There was a time when another state called for assessment of appreciation of truth and beauty. So we'll rise to the challenge. Psychometricians have a way of coming through, and if we don't, we'll come up with something and the policymakers will be off and running with it anyway. So I guess that's as much as we can say.